Today we're making these boyfriend boxer shorts. They are so comfortable, great under jeans, sweatpants and other bottoms that are not too tight. You can also use them as pajamas in the summer if you like. I made this version here using modal jersey fabric with 5% of elastan, and I think it's the best fabric to use. It's got a satin finish that makes it look very high quality. It's super fluid, it's very soft. Honestly, I really like them. It's such a nice wear. This is the first sample here that I made of the shorts. As you can see, I didn't include a back seam in the middle at first. This was to ease the construction and the sewing for you guys. The problem was that the width at waist of the shorts was extremely large, and then when combined to the waistband, there was such a discrepancy that it created lots of ripples and lots of creases. I don't know how you call that. As you can see, it was not elegant at all. So I made a second version with a back seam. I still took some fabric in to narrow the waist even more, and then when I added the waistband on this sample, it was much better. This is the elastic that I use for the waistband. It's a soft elastic that's advertised, marketed as boxer shorts elastic. And in this version, this is how I sewed it. I sewed first right sides together and then I fold it back. I don't really like this method. I'm going to show you another one. And these are some elastics that I found also at the haberdashery. This is a sort of fold over elastic, so it's an option that you could explore. I'm actually not using them for this project in this tutorial because I don't want to add too much layer to my project. I think for underwear, it's kind of important that the seams and the fabric be thin so that it's not too much visible on the garments. So I observed a couple of my underwear that I had at home to see how they were constructed and how the elastics was sewed to the fabric. And I'm going to follow this method here that you can see where the fabric is placed flat on the elastic and then it's sewed on top. So here I'm pretty sure they used the cover stitch machine to do this. On the wrong side, it looks like they used the serger to finish the edge, and on the right side, it looks like they use a twin needle. It's typically what a cover stitch machine does. My fabric here is a jersey, a cotton jersey, 95% cotton, 5% elastan. This is the fabric that I made the pattern in. You are totally encouraged to explore other types of fabrics that would be thinner and maybe stretchier, softer, comfier, prettier, but you have to know that the pattern was made using this fabric, and that if you take another one, you might have to test the pattern again and do some little adjustments. For the lining, I use the same fabric as for the shell, and I actually don't really recommend it. I think, again, in order to prevent thickness, it's better to use a thinner fabric if you have one in the inside, and I do recommend that lining be cotton. So let me show you the parts of the pattern. I have my paper pattern over there. So these are my gusset parts. They come in two similar pieces because this part of the pattern is lined. I have the front parts here. I'm going to be calling them the triangles probably throughout the tutorial. Also lined. On the left, the bra. I'm going to do another video for this tutorial. I'm going to have the link appear maybe now up there if you want to check it out. And these are the legs, which are cut mirrored. I've already showed you the elastic band that I'm going to be using. I recommend an elastic band for boxer shorts. Very soft and not too firm in terms of elastic. 3 to 4 centimeters wide. So to start the project, I'm going to take my legs and my triangles up there. I'm going to take one of the triangles and I'm going to lay it right sides together against one of the legs, and we're going to lay it against the edge that is the center front of my legs. Then I take the other triangle and I lay it right side against wrong side of the leg. And I will pin the 3 layers together. So this is what I get. As you can see, right sides together, and here wrong side against right side. And you have here 3 layers of fabric. Now I'm going to go to my regular sewing machine and I'm going to sew 1 centimeter from the edge, and I'm going to be using a straight stitch. I have done several tutorials using jersey, elastic, stretchy fabric in the past, and I never used a straight stitch. I actually didn't recommend it back in the days, but now I feel much more comfortable using a straight stitch with a jersey fabric. If you want to preserve the elasticity of your fabric while using a straight stitch, you have to pull your fabric. You have to stretch it out a little bit. Don't exaggerate either while you're sewing. If you don't, it's gonna snap. It might be that when you pull your fabric, it's actually not that stretchy, and it might be just because your fabric is not four-way stretch or two-way stretch, like stretchy horizontally and vertically. It's absolutely not a problem for this project. If it's resisting because the fibers just aren't elastic vertically, then it's fine. Don't crack the fabric, don't pull on it more than it can stand it. As you can see here, I have preserved the elasticity of the fabric, and now I'm going to come with my overlocker and I'm going to finish the edges, sewing those 3 edges together. If you don't do it, the seam allowance already is starting to curl up. It's going to create some thickness, some bumps. It's not really nice. I don't recommend that you leave it that way. If you do not have an overlocker, then use your regular sewing machine and a zigzag stitch. Alright, so this is what I get once my 2 seams are done, my regular seam with a straight stitch, and then my stitch with the serger or the overlocker. Okay, I've just pressed down, and now I'm going to be connecting my other leg to these triangles. So I take my other leg, and I have to lay it right sides together, not wrong sides together, right? There you go, right sides together. I'm going to roll both layers together until I get close to the triangles. I try to not roll the layers too loose because we want to save space here during this procedure. Okay, now I'm going to take the edge that is the center front of my new leg and I'm going to pin it against the first triangle, right sides together. And now I have another layer to add to the game. I don't feel comfortable describing this with words, so please observe that in between the 2 triangles you have a roll of legs basically, and so I'm going to pin all 3 layers together now. Once it's pinned, this is what I get. At the tip of the triangle it gets a little narrow, so you might have to pull the fabric to pin it. And now I'm going to sew using a straight stitch, respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance, and I'll finish the edge with my overlocker right after. This is what I get once the 2 legs have been attached to the triangles, shell and lining. And I'm gonna pull the legs out of the triangles. Ta-da! So this is the wrong side of the fabric and this is the right side. I'm gonna press down. There you go. Now I'll fold my legs and I will sew the back seam, just the one that's covering the ass, not the one that will be in between the legs. Here again, also using a straight stitch, and while sewing I will pull the fabric and then I'll finish the edges with my overlocker. This is what I get. This is the center back seam. Okay, I'm gonna turn this inside out, and now we have to take care of the gusset. This is the part that will be covering your pussy. You have notches here on the gusset that will help you know which side goes against the triangle and which side goes against the back seam. There is no center notch to indicate the center back seam, so I'm going to fold my gusset in half and I'm going to create my own notch in the center of the fabric. And same for the second layer of the gusset. Then I take a first gusset and I pin it right sides together. This is what I get once it's pinned. I'll take the other gusset and I'll pin it on the wrong side of the short, right side against the wrong side of the short. I think it's better to watch the images than to listen to my voice because I get myself mixed up between the wrong side, right side of which part. Sorry about that. And so you're gonna pin the 3 layers together and you're gonna sew with a straight stitch, respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. you're gonna sew while pulling the fabric. Again, if you prefer to use a zigzag stitch, feel free to do so. And also it might be that you don't want to create a first seam using your regular sewing machine, you want to go at it using your overlocker straight away. Just know that there is 1 centimeter of seam allowance to respect here. Then I finish the edge using my overlocker. And so once these 2 seams are done, this is what I get. And now we have to sew this gusset to the other side of the shorts. And so in order to achieve this, I'm gonna do the same method that I did earlier. I'm gonna be rolling my fabric kind of tightly because the parts are a bit narrow. That's it. Can you see that I'm lost? She's like, what am I doing here? Where is there? There it is. Okay, stop there. Yeah, pull this out. Okay, so first I'm gonna pin these 2 layers together. It's one of the gussets against the back seam. At this point I have pinned the 2 layers together, so I am taking my 3rd layer. As you can see, the rest of the shorts is taken between the 2 layers like a little sausage. And now I am pinning the 3 layers together. Once this is done, this is what I get. I'm gonna be sewing the 3 layers together, respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance, using a straight stitch, and then I'm gonna use my overlocker to finish the edge. This is what I get. Now I am gonna pull out the burrito of fabric that's inside my gusset parts, and here's the result. So we are now going to focus on the waistband. The waistband that I took is 3.2 centimeters thick. I recommend in the pattern a waistband that is 4 centimeters thick. It's actually kind of better for the bra part because I didn't find bra closures that were 32 millimeters thick. So if you want the 2 parts to match and if you want to put a bra closure, I really recommend you actually take a 4 centimeter wide elastic band for your boxes. Anyway, I am cutting my elastic band following the length recommended in the pattern. This length includes the seam allowances of 1 centimeter on each end. If you're not sure that this length is gonna be alright for you, then please try on this length around your waist before cutting the elastic band. I'm gonna fold my elastic in half, right sides together, and I'm gonna sew the 2 ends together 1 centimeter from the edge. I'm just gonna use a regular straight stitch. So you can see here that I have already done it. I've sewed with a straight stitch 1 centimeter from the edge. Now I'm gonna open the seam allowances and I'm gonna sew the seam allowances to the waistband. I'm gonna use the width of my presser foot to do so. And again, I'll be using a straight stitch. And this is what I get. Alright, I'm gonna take my overlocker and I'm gonna finish the edge of the short at waist level. If you don't have an overlocker, I do recommend that you finish the edge with a zigzag stitch, because if you don't do that, the edges are gonna curl, and this is not gonna be comfortable or cool, which is a really strong argument. Who wants to have edges of their boxer shorts not cool, right? Yeah, if you don't finish the edges, it's not gonna kill anybody. But it's gonna curl up. Yes, it will. Alright, so I have finished the edges of my shorts. And here I have my waistband. And I'm gonna be attaching my boxer shorts to the waistband, right? To do so, I will respect 1 centimeter of seam allowance. in order to make sure that I respect 1 centimeter of seam allowance, I will draw my 1 centimeter of seam allowance. You do not have to, but I really like when my measurements are respected for myself, because since I am developing the pattern, if I don't respect the measurements, I might end up with surprises. But of course, you can just play by ear if you like, here and there. So I'm drawing my line 1 centimeter from the edge on the wrong side of the elastic. Here I'm folding my elastic in half and I will mark the middle. Then I match the marking I just made with the seam. I press flat and I mark the center. Here I am basically creating new notches to match the waistband to the shorts so that the elasticity is evenly distributed. Now I take my shorts and I do the same. So the center back is already marked thanks to this seam. The center front isn't, so I'm folding and I am marking the fabric, and then I put both marks against one another, both centers, and I'll mark the sides. Once I'm finished with my markings, I grab my elastic band and I will use the notches to lay my boxer short edges properly in the right position against the boxer shorts elastic. I'm first matching all 4 notches that I've created. Once you do that, you will realize that the waist of the short is a bit larger than the waistband. It's completely normal, and that means that when you're going to be pinning or when you're going to be sewing, you're going to have to stretch the waistband a little bit so that it lays flat against the edge of the shorts. I've added lots of pins, as you can see. And now I'm going to be sewing on the right side of the fabric using my twin needle. This is the result. I find it quite neat. I'm very satisfied. I actually had never tried this finishing before because I showed you the only 2 samples that I made prior to this one. There's a little bit of wrinkles here in the front, which means that I probably didn't spread out the fabric optimally, but once I'm going to be wearing it, the fabric is going to be tense anyway, so we won't see them. I could have sewed with my twin needles a bit more inside the seam allowance so that we don't get as much fabric free like that, like sticking out, but yeah, it doesn't really bother me. I think it's going to be still comfortable enough, but in case you don't like that and you want to change that, then it might be a good idea to sew more in the seam allowance a bit closer to the center of the waistband. Our last step is to take care of the hems here. I'm just gonna take the pattern quickly to check how big the hem is. So it is 2 centimeters wide. I folded my hem and I pinned, and now I'm going to use my twin needle to sew the hem, and I'm going to sew on the right side. And that's it, the shorts are done. I'm going to remove the pins and I'll press down. Feel free to watch the video tutorial of the bra if you're interested in making a matching underwear set. Take care, kiss.